This is my ride. In 2006, a contestant's car caught fire on the highway. The wires that MTV put in started smoking 5 years after they left. It all caught fire. That wasn't even the worst part. Another contestant said that while he was driving, his steering wheel came off totally. Even though MTV knew the cars weren't safe, they still shot the shows. Then they made the contestants sign papers that said they couldn't talk. It looks like someone hit your car hard. No one spoke for years. We're going to find out what really happened behind the scenes of Pimp My Ride today. And why the crew had to lie about what happened. In the early 2000s, MTV was having a hard time. No longer were music vids enough to keep people interested. Reality TV was easier to make and got more viewers. So, in March 2004, MTV started a show called Pimp My Ride. It looked like fun, made people feel good, and most importantly, it didn't cost much to make. Most upgrades to vehicles only cost $15,000 to $20,000 per show. Compared to music video licensing or written TV shows, that was a great deal. Rick Hurwitz, who helped make the show, said it was made to attract to people ages 18 to 34. There are young people who are having a hard time with money who would like the idea of fixing up an old, broken down car and making it look cool. It worked like a charm. The numbers went through the roof. The network had a huge hit with the show. Show was the face of it all. It wasn't because he knew a lot about cars. He stated that he didn't. On the record, he said, "I just picked up the car and I dropped it off." Even though he didn't do any of the work, MTV liked him because of how he looked, sounded, and seemed. He was cool and hip-hop, and he made things look real. Anyway, even when they weren't. What the network cared about was that only. West Coast Customs in California did the real work on the car. They did everything MTV asked them to do. Short deadlines, little money, and big graphics. The truth is that they skipped steps everywhere to get things done faster. At times, exhaust pipes were only there to look good. The engines made bad noises. Safety? Not always very important. They took off a muffler one time and didn't put it back on. Flammable lines on another car would never pass inspection. Someone called their finished car a polished turd because it looked cool but wouldn't even run right. Because cars kept breaking down after shooting, co-producer Larry Hochberg had to set up tow trucks. There was always a tow truck ready for them. Most of the time, these cars were given to poor college students. Think about Christine Allende. She was 19 years old and taking care of her 83-year-old grandma. Her 1992 Honda Civic was breaking down. The alarm never went off, the doors wouldn't open, and she only had a spare tire on one of the wheels. These producers knew this. They wished there were more like her. It made TV better. The cars were taken away for 6 to 7 months, though. They were given $2,000 by MTV to rent things. But a lot of them were too young to rent from real companies. Some people, like Seth Martino, had to drive in sketchy cars to go to risky places. For 2 years, he didn't even get paid back. That took place more than once. Contestants had to pay for their own cars or were not able to use any cars at all while MTV shot. They never got to the bottom of the real problems with the workshop they used. One car's engine was giving it trouble, so someone put in a fake tailpipe to make noise. Even though another one didn't have a gearbox that worked, bright lights and paint were still added. It's been a month since West Coast Customs sold one of these cars, but it went to an audio company that didn't even drive it. They didn't want anyone to see how badly it was built. A lot of things on MTV were also fake. It was a certain age. To enter, people had to be younger than 22. If someone said they were older, they were lying. People thought Brooke Siegel was 22 years old, even though she was 25 years old. She worked as a bar waitress. They even rented homes for the big scenes when the Xzibit showed up as a surprise. 5 to 10 times, contestants had to do their response again until they got it right. I remember that a big team member told Jake Glazier to act more excited because they had put a lot of work into this. It wasn't just luck. It made me feel scared. Posters with ads for more desperate people were put up at community schools and in poor areas where MTV knew people drove old, broken down cars. Then they took 6 months to finish shooting. Rental money of $2,000 ran out quickly. Justin Dieringer said that just 1 month of rent was $1,000. The rest he had to work out by himself. Some of them were too young to become renters in the first place. Seth Martino was stuck with a sketchy hire car on the motorway that barely worked. MTV stopped paying about halfway through the show. The rest was paid for by the contestants. As before, returns came years later. And the deals these people made? They let MTV run their lives pretty much completely. On paper, everything was okay. People who took part gave up their right to sue. MTV could change them in any way they liked. That's how Jake Glazer's grandmother came to look like an image of someone who smokes a lot. For fun, they threw cigarette ends into his car, even though she never smoked. They told a lie about Seth Martino that he liked candy. To make a joke about his weight, they put cheap candy in his seats and a cotton candy machine in his trunk. Afterwards, he said, "I know I'm fat, but they really worked hard to make me look very fat." Someone in charge even told Jake to break up with his girlfriend so that he would look sad and alone in the story. Later, Hochberg denied it, but competitors say it really did happen. The producers looked deeply into the lives of the contestants to find anything embarrassing. They looked for strange habits, family troubles, relationship issues, and anything else that would make them laugh or cry. The contestants were even told to lie about their own families. Seth's grandma was dragged into one of these plots, even though she hadn't agreed to be on the show. They used every weakness they found as a joke. The cars they chose were also part of the plan. Anyone with a good car was turned away. They wanted cars that were so broken down that people would overlook the fact that the mechanics were not working. Larry Hochberg once said that some people were in such bad shape that nothing could help them. They could then blame the old car if something went wrong after shooting. They didn't touch the engines or gears very often. Instead, they put metal on it, added screens and maybe a fish tank or a cotton candy machine and called it a change. Tow trucks were always ready in case the cars couldn't get away after the show. A lot of the time, they couldn't. One of them was Jake's car. Even with all of this, the show became a huge hit. Launched around the world. Pimp My Ride UK with DJ Tim Westwood was around by 2005. Then Fat Joe and Lil Jon's Pimp My Ride International. In 2007, Pimp My Ride had spread to Brazil and even the Baltic states. China made Pimp My Car. The first season aired from 2004 to 2007 and had 6 episodes. The job was first done by West Coast Customs, but later it was given to Galpin Autosports. 20 years later, in 2024, co-creator Rick Hurwitz brought a new version of the show to Netflix. It was called Resurrected Rides, and Chris Redd was the host. MTV made a lot of money. Back in 2006, Activision made a video game for the PS2, Xbox 360, PSP, and Wii. Not many people liked it, the gameplay was boring, and the physics were bad. However, it sold since the show was so well known. There were games, toys, and even a whole brand. The finalists got nothing at the same time. No money or rights, just the cars, which they often couldn't afford to fix or keep up. A lot of people later paid thousands of dollars to get them up and running. One person made it clear that his car could not be used. People on MTV were also made to fake scenes. Someone put a champagne bottle stand in a drive-in theater in Justin Dieringer's car, but they were taken down after the movie was shot. They were only there to watch TV. The contestants had to do their wow moments at least 10 times. The security guard, Big Dane, would stand close and tell them to get more excited. It was always possible to hide the truth. Things like the filming sites were also fake. There were no real homes there. They were rented homes where the reveals took place. The web changed things for better and worse. One of the most well-known jokes of all time is Yo Dog from the Xzibit's line. It began on 4chan in 2007. It was picked up by Reddit in 2008. Tumblr came next. It became a joke that went viral and stuck around for a long time. The form of the joke, yo dog, I heard you like X. I put an X in your Y so you can Z while your Z went viral. No, your meme saw more than 2.8 million hits, but it hurt Xzibit. He said on The Breakfast Club in 2018 that the show hurt his business. I couldn't go on the tour. I was an MC, so I couldn't keep building Xzibit. He said it almost got bigger than the music all of a sudden. He was seen as a joke rather than a real rapper. He made fun of the fact that soccer mums knew him better than hip-hop fans. That's what he paid. Jake Glazer remembers how things changed when he didn't act the way the crew thought he should. He had just seen his 1986 Buick Century that had been fixed up. It was season 4. He only said, "This is good." That was enough to make things tense. A crew member named Big Dane, who Jake described as a very big guy, pulled him away to give him what he called a quiet but clear warning. Big Dane walked Jake around the West Coast Customs shop with his arm around his shoulder for 10 minutes straight. The real message then came. "We worked hard on this. We fucking expect you to be a little more excited." Jake later told HuffPost that he would have stopped shooting right then and there if he could have because, in his words, it's not that important. But with that much stress, it didn't seem like a choice. Not only were reactions promoted, they were also managed. People were told to film their reveal moment over and over again. Brooke Siegel said she had to act out her first response 10 times before she saw her real car. She later said that the car was Barbie's dream car from hell. She didn't even like the car. What Justin Deranger said took place to him also. "We had to do a lot of takes over and over and over again. Seth Martino had to do his car reveal 3 times, and that wasn't your only time. The producers got stricter with each repeat. They said the response had to keep getting stronger until it reached Apes hit level. Crazy, loud, and ready for the camera, even though the car itself didn't feel useful. But for some, the power play didn't end with the show." Jake said that people from MTV tried to change his real-life relationship. They told him straight out that cutting ties with his girlfriend would be better for the plot. It was thought that a single guy trying to get girls' attention with a cool car would make better TV than someone who was already in a relationship. In short, either get rid of her or don't let her be on the show. Jake said they told him. He said it felt like they were making up his life to fit a story, even if it hurt real people. Seth Martino had to deal with something else. He knew he was overweight, but the makers made it seem worse than it really was. People in the crowd were told that he had candy all over his car in case he got hungry. But Seth says they faked the whole thing by throwing 2 full bags of candy into the car right before the video was shot. After that, they put a cotton candy machine in his trunk. It didn't work at all. There was no lid. Seth thought it was picked because of how heavy he was. I believe they only wanted to put in a cotton candy machine and saw the fat guy as a chance to do it. He said it was mean and that the whole thing was meant to make him look bad. When applicants fought back or tried to speak out, MTV's lawyers stepped in right away. There were strict non-disparagement terms in the contracts. People who said bad things about the show would get letters telling them to stop. They couldn't fight back because most of them didn't have enough money. Lawyers were too expensive for them. So no one spoke for years. People didn't say anything because they were bound by contracts that said they would be buried if they did. All of this for a car upgrade that didn't always last. It was all fake, even the famous knock on the door. There were fake homes there. MTV only rented them to film with. Because he lived in an apartment, Seth Martino said they found his house on Craigslist because they needed a big garage to film the scene. Jake from season 3 also said it wasn't his house. Someone on the crew owned it. They were told to stay inside and wait for someone to knock on the door. They might get a $100 Pep Boys gift card. Show might be a good word. The shock you saw on TV was caused by that last-minute trick, not by real surprise. For Brooke Siegel, the situation got even stranger. She said she had to act out several times how she felt when Xzibit showed up. Then the directors made her do a cartwheel. She gave in, but she felt bad about it later. She also said that her age and job were both fake. She was shown on TV as a 22-year-old film student. She was really a 25-year-old bar waitress. Plus, they filmed her answer 10 times before she even saw the car for the big reveal. It was all planned. The film group had already been at the house for hours when Xzibit walked up to the door. Setting up the music equipment, lighting, and cameras was done ahead of time. Along with 2 other people, Seth Martino remembers being told that he was in the running for an episode. All of them waited in rented homes. The winner was the person who got hit by Xzibit. The same thing was confirmed by another candidate. They won if it was Xzibit. All of those scenes were practiced, planned, and shot carefully after being set up for hours. No one was acting on the spot. The secret had to be kept even after the movie was over. They had to lie to their family and friends for months. They couldn't say when they were recording, what was going on with the car, or even that they had already met Xzibit. The directors told them what to do and how loud to scream. To get better takes, Justin Dieringer said they made him jump and scream. Jake Glazer remembered that Big Dane had shown him around the shop before, telling him to get more excited. It was all playing. It was all fake. They were never really with the people around them. A person's family would be played by players if their real family didn't fit the plot or couldn't make it to the set. Sometimes strangers were used instead of real parents and brothers. To make Jake's story more exciting, they forced him to break up with his girlfriend. Most of the time, the cool tools are fake. There was a robotic arm in Seth Martino's car that looked cool, but it didn't work. Someone with a PC off-screen was in charge of it. Out of all the shocking parts, one came straight from Xzibit. He once said that during one show, a contestant was driving a remodeled car when the steering wheel came completely loose from the column while the car was moving. Something like that could have killed someone on the highway. It turned out that the cars weren't even finished when the reveals were shot. Some had to go back to the shop for another week to finish the job after the movie was over. What people saw was not true. That was hard for Justin Dieringer to learn. His RAV4 caught fire 5 years after the event. He was driving with his girlfriend when the sound system turned off. The car filled with smoke, and the hydraulic setup began to burn. The fire spread to the whole car. Justin fixed and upgraded things with more than $20,000 of his own money, but he said the fire was caused by MTV's wires. The changes made to the car made it too heavy. 1 month after Seth Martino got his car back, it broke down. His 1989 Nissan Maxima had been in the shop for 7 months. The engine broke down when he finally got it. West Coast Customs added LED lights to the gull-wing doors and a cotton candy machine, but they didn't change anything about the engine. To get it working again, Seth had to pay $1,700 out of his own pocket. He said it was like getting a turd cleaned. It looked good, but it didn't work. Things got even worse because of how heavy the changes were. People who were competing said their cars felt dangerous. Heavy things like TVs, hot tubs, TVs, and even cotton candy makers. All of it was crammed into old cars that didn't have new brakes or chassis. Seth talked about how his car felt like a boat that sank when it hit a bump. To keep everyone safe, cars had to go slowly. It became harder to stop. The steering stopped being reliable. It was dangerously full in some cars. And the LED lights that everyone loved in the video? Seth said they were at risk of getting burned because they got so hot. They could get too hot or catch fire if left on for too long. Other contestants said that fuses had blown and lines were smoking. The wiring systems in the building were not made to handle that much power. The technicians sped up the work. Safety wasn't a top concern, and cables were tangled and circuits were overloaded. The contestants were given fire traps that looked like dream cars. Justin Dieringer started season 6 of Pimp My Ride in 2006 with a 1997 Toyota RAV4. The episode that ran on MTV showed that his car had a drive-in theater system and a champagne tray that would pop up. But as soon as shooting was over, both were taken down. They said it was because of rules about drinking and safety on the streets. It wasn't a mistake, though. Later, co-executive producer Larry Hochberg said that they added crazy features just for TV, knowing that they would be taken out later. He said that putting 24-inch wheels on a 1977 Cutlass would look good on TV, but in real life, they would put on smaller 20s so the car could actually drive. For 5 months, Dieringer's car wasn't there. MTV only charged him $2,000 to rent it. He leased a car for a month. I put the rest away and got by. That wasn't the end, though. For the scenes before they were filmed, the team even made the dent in his bumper worse. Then, after 5 years, the car caught fire because the wiring was bad. It all caught fire. The whole MTV building was destroyed. Also, Seth Martino came back for season 6 with a 1989 Nissan Maxima. In the trunk, MTV gave him a cotton candy machine. It looked like fun, but they weren't sure how big it was. The top cover couldn't fit. It was once for the camera. There was sugar all over the car. It turned into a useless mess after that. The mods didn't just target sugar, though. They added technology and weight to his car, but they didn't change the suspension. The car sagged. He said it was easy to drive. After only 1 month, he had to replace the whole engine because of problems that were missed while shooting. It was clear what he thought. This car had to work for me. They didn't give that to me. A robot arm was also given to him. From the camera, it looked like an AI helper from the future. It didn't work at all in real life. It looked like a real arm, but it had wires on it. A guy off camera used a laptop to control it every time it moved. Seth saw that it was all a set. The arm didn't do anything but look good on TV. It wasn't just them who fell for it. A lot of contestants from different seasons got fake robotic arms that looked the same. It seemed like these were high-tech on the show, but they were really just props. The screens, lights, and game systems all worked properly when the cameras came out. But most of them stopped working right after shooting. Seth's TVs never turned back on. The LED lights in his seat got too hot to use. He told me I couldn't drive with them on because they would get very hot if I did. The gadgets were set up just for show, not for real use. Because of sloppy wiring and a lack of time, the equipment was useless after MTV left. During the show's seasons, audio systems, DVD players, and game platforms all broke down within days. Hochberg even said that a flatbed tow truck was ready to go while the movie was being filmed. That shows how bad the cars were. It took 6 to 7 months, but MTV made it look like the changes to the cars happened in just a few days. It took 5 months to get Justin's car back. Seth was away for 7 days. They were stuck at this point. Without a car, there is no way to get help. Seth lived in West Covina and had to go to LAX every month just to pay for a sketchy rental car. Because he was under 21, big rental companies wouldn't even rent to him. MTV didn't make things better. They picked young contestants even though they knew these kids would have trouble getting rentals. Seth had to rent from a small business off the highway that wouldn't take phone payments. He swiped his card in person every month. MTV gave each contestant $2,000 to use to rent a car. That wasn't enough. It was gone in about 2 months for both Seth and Justin. They had to figure it out on their own the rest of the time. Seth kept all of his receipts in case he could get them back. MTV finally paid him back after 2 years. 2 whole years. He was in school at the time and didn't have any money. On the other hand, MTV kept showing his episode and made a lot of money from ads. It was like the contestants lent $1 billion company money for free. They never got paid to be on the show. Not even $1. For no reason, not even for advertising. Viacom and MTV made a lot of money at the same time. The show did really well on MTV and became one of their most popular shows. They made stuff, sold DVDs, and took all the money. The show's host, Xzibit, was only paid $5,000 per episode. He was also scammed. Viacom took his name and music off of later DVDs so they wouldn't have to pay him fees. He was told that 15% of the sales of merchandise would go to him. He never got it. It was worse for contestants. They were given a tax bill instead of money. The changes were seen as gifts by the IRS. Some people had to sell their cars just to repay their debts. During an interview with The Breakfast Club in December 2018, Xzibit said that the show had no effect on his business. He couldn't record, play, or get better as an artist. It took 6 months to shoot each car. He could have made records in that time. He said that he couldn't keep building Xzibit as an MC. MTV also did nothing to help get his songs heard. Pimp My Ride is now much bigger than it was before. Soon, hip-hop fans weren't stopping him. The soccer mums knew who he was. He said it started to sound like soccer mums and other similar things. That hurt. His picture was gone. He thought he had betrayed them. People liked the show more than his songs. Scores put it just below The Real World. Instead of cheering for him at shows, people were interested in trunk TVs. Years later, Xzibit couldn't hide how angry he was. In 2020, he responded to people's scary stories on YouTube. There was a chandelier in someone's car. He told her, "I didn't tell them to put a chandelier in your car." He wanted real improvements, like a new engine, exhaust, and paint. But the people who made TV shows wanted crazy ideas that would look cool. He went along with it. He would show up on set and say, "Let's go, day work." It didn't bother him. He was just done with a job. Xzibit moved away from West Coast ways of life when people started talking about how bad the cars were. He said that he had nothing to do with the work itself. The engine in Seth's Maxima broke after a month, even though the car got bigger and the suspension didn't change. Changes to cars sometimes made them dangerous. The Lamborghini-style doors made it impossible to use harnesses. The flamethrowers were put in place and then taken away before the contestants could see them. Xzibit said, "I'm just going to put gas in it and drive it." He made it clear that he wasn't to blame. But he knew MTV would never treat him again. He asked for $1 million to come back from tour and film another episode, so Chameleonaire filled in for him for one episode. They told him straight out that anyone with hair can do what Xzibit does. Because West Coast Customs did well, he got nothing. He gave a firm answer when asked if he would ever bring the show back. People with rights told him that he could only do it if he owned it. "Let me know right away that I'm not a part of that." The show used his voice, looks, and street cred, but then they left him out.